A very good evening to you. How is everyone this evening? Hope everyone's well. So what I'd like to see to start off with, just to make sure, as we are a live video, and this is streaming, by the way, I'm streaming from Zoom itself. I just want to make sure that you can both see me and hear me, and then we'll carry on. Now, so just give me a thumbs up or something like that. Now, this takes about, because we're streaming from Zoom, it will take about 30 seconds before I acknowledge it. So I'm going to talk for a few seconds, but then I'll check the Facebook page and just to make sure that everything's okay before I go on. If there are any problems, let me know. Say you can't hear the audio, or actually you can't see me at all, let me know. If the recording, if the voice isn't great at all, the audio isn't great, let me know, and we may revert to something else itself. But hopefully it will be. I'm just going to check, make sure that everything is okay on Facebook itself. So I'm just going to quickly check in, make sure everyone is okay. If you put any comments in there, let me know how you're feeling today, this evening. It is a Wednesday evening, and yeah, I've got something really exciting lined up for you this evening. So just let me, when we get going, we've got the top 5 non-technical skills that employers are looking for. So I'm quite excited to deliver this presentation. So it's going to be, I'm really looking forward to it. So see, we've got quite a few people on there. If you just give me, just press a comment on, just say hello. That'd be fantastic, just so I know people are there itself. I can't see any comments coming through, but I say there is a bit of a delay coming through itself. But 31 people watching live, as I can see itself. So I'm going to move on in a second itself. Okay. So oh, brilliant, thank you. So I can see, thank you, Jamie, Emily, yeah, Mark, that's fantastic, Jen. Brilliant. All right then. Well, I won't say hello to you all. I'll say hello to you all in a second. So we've got, like I say, got this presentation to give to you today. What I'll do before I'll go into that, because many of you will not know who I am. So I will give you a brief introduction to who I am, who I work for, and what I'll be offering you this evening in terms of this presentation, as I say. So I'm Richard Dodd. I am the Managing Director of an ecological consultancy called Wildwood Ecology. We have 2 offices, or locations, should we say, based in South Wales, which is where the company was born. We were born in Wales itself. Initially set up by Richard Crompton, and then I joined in 2010 to become a director there, and now Richard does his own ecological training consultancy, and now I run the company itself, manage the company with my fantastic team around me. So we've got to say a team over in South Wales, so based in Caerphilly in South Wales, and I'm personally based in the lovely Cotswolds, so that's in Gloucestershire. Well, it's mostly in Gloucestershire. There is other parts of the Cotswolds in different counties as well, Warwickshire and Oxfordshire and also Worcestershire. But yeah, I'm based in Cirencester in Gloucestershire. So I have been a professional ecologist for 20 years. Yeah, 20 years now. So I graduated from Cardiff University back in 2000, and I undertook a zoology degree there. I really loved my time at university there, and it was a great awakening for me. So I'm not going to go before the course itself. I'm going to say that I was a mature student, or maturer student, going into Cardiff University. I say studying zoology degree there. I also undertook a placement year while I was there with the Field Studies Council, and that was more of a sort of habitat management side and the educational side too. So I was based in Middlecombe Court down in Somerset near Taunton. Completed the degree, graduated in 2000 with a 2-1 degree, and this is part of my sort of journey, shall we say, into ecology and conservation was that in my final year, so I completed my final exam on a Monday. I then had an interview with the Countryside Council for Wales, as it was then. Now it's Natural Resources Wales. So that was because I was for a species officer. And following the interview, I was successful and I started the following Monday. So this is just a week later after completing my final exam. So yeah, I was pretty lucky in that aspect, but I'll go on to look in a bit later on. Worked there for a while. Then after it was a 6-month placement. So at the end of the 6-month placement, there was an opportunity to carry on, but I saw an opportunity to work with the Wildlife Trusts. So I wanted to do more hands-on practical experience conservation work. So I then went to work for the Wildlife, well, it was Glamorgan Wildlife Trust as it was then. Now it's the Wildlife Trust of South and West Wales. So I went through the amalgamation between Glamorgan Wildlife Trust and West Wales Wildlife Trust, now the Wildlife Trust of South and West Wales. And I was their reserves officer at Park Slip Nature Reserve in Bridgend. And before it became then the project reserves officer, and then become reserves manager. And that took me to West Wales, living in Cardigan. So on the nature reserve, Teifi Marshes Nature Reserve over in West Wales. If you are over in West Wales, do make a visit to Teifi Marshes. It's a fantastic reserve, and it's managing for the first time there sort of water buffalo to manage the reserve itself. So I've gone from public sector now into the voluntary sector, and carried on that journey in the voluntary sector. Worked for the Bat Conservation Trust as the first bat officer for Wales, which is great because exactly the same year the film Batman Begins came out. So it was quite an opportune moment for me, and quite serendipitous, shall we say. So worked for the Bat Conservation Trust. Then I made the leap, shall we say, to ecological consultancy, working in the private sector. So that was working for a company in South Wales, in Penarth, before I actually then decided to jump on as a partner with Wildwood Ecology. And the rest, as I say, is history. So we've gone and seen some developments over the past 10 years since I've been with Wildwood Ecology. So we've grown the company from literally was Richard Crompton, so one person. Now we have 10 employees. We're just going around a recruitment round now for assistant ecologists, both in South Wales and also in the Cotswolds. So those interviews are taking place right now. So the application window is closed, unfortunately. So, and we're also looking for senior ecologists, both within South Wales and also the Cotswolds too. So to grow the company itself, so we're doing quite well. And we were award-winning consultancy back in 2019, Small Ecological Consultancy of the Year. The way we differentiate ourselves out with from other companies, I think, what I really do think, is that we are a more purpose-led ecological consultancy. You will never find us working on HS2. Never will we be working on HS2. Never have and never will. And that is a personal stance. That's one of my values, my principles that I have. And it's something that reflects within our wonderful team that we have in Wildwood Ecology. And what I wanted to go into today, so that's a little bit about the company itself. And I say we've been working for 20 years. We mostly work within different sort of sectors, but as an employer, I have recruited quite a few people over the past couple of years, interviewed many, many more, and CV-wise, I've seen quite a few over the course of those years too. Some of the fantastic CVs and amazing interviews and wonderful people who've clearly taken on. But equally so, there are some rather poorer examples, so we say, of CVs and also interview techniques as well. So I'll talk about the top. There's clearly are what's known as hard skills and soft skills. I don't like those terms for various reasons, but hard skills, really, they are the technical skills that as an employer we are looking for. So in terms of ecological consultancy, maybe on conservation, for instance, those technical skills will be bat survey skills, reptile identification skills, floral identification skills. It will be data analysis skills, using GIS, mapping skills, so forth, okay? So those are the technical skills that we look for. And those more or less, you'll be trained upon. So it would be that you come in with a certain level of knowledge and competency, and then we'll talk about competency a bit later on. So you come in with a certain level of experience, and it could be minimal, you know about the subject, and that's about it. And through training, you gain these additional skills, build them up, and therefore by the end of that course, for instance, or your training period, you will reach a certain level, which is a desired level. Now, clearly, you can advance for different courses to get you higher up into the sort of skills. So basic, intermediate, advanced, and even expert or authoritative sort of levels. So those are the technical skills that we do require. It's important that we do have those skills in order to go out and undertake ecological surveys for an ecological consultancy, for instance, or if you're working for a wildlife trust, it's looking at those brush. You've got chainsaw certificates, competency there. You've got your brush cutting certificates and to undertake those certain works and so forth. Okay, so those are the technical skills, but there are arguably more important skills that we look for within our team, our employees, and these are previously known as soft skills, but transferable skills. And that's what we're going to look at this evening. I want to focus upon not the hard skill, not the technical skills. I always fell into the trap there. The technical skills that you know about and you probably need. But it's looking at these non-technical skills, the transferable skills that we look for within our candidates that come through. And so you can demonstrate these on your CV. And also, we also need to see them demonstrated at the interview stage too. So we're going to have a look at those. And I've identified my personal top 5 of those non-technical skills. But there are a few more which we'll discuss as well. But my top 5 skills that I look for within an employee itself. And then a little bit bonus section towards the end of this talk, this Facebook Live, is looking at how you translate those into your CV, and also a little bit about interview technique as well. So we'll get onto this very, very shortly. And the beauty about using Zoom is that I am able to use, I can actually share my screen with you. So first of all, I will say a big, big thank you to CJS Jobs for actually inviting me to present this presentation to you this evening. So I've enormously benefited from personally obtaining roles, jobs in my early career through CJS when it was a paper-based. So I used to get that every week coming through when I was looking for jobs as an ecologist, well, as a conservationist those days, an ecologist, and equally so when we've been advertising looking for roles for ecologists over the past past 20 years or 10 years for Wildwood Ecology. So we rely heavily upon CJS, and they do enormous I'm extremely grateful for them. So thank you very much, CJS. So what I would like to do now is to present to you just a little. There's no sound, so you'll be pleased to hear there won't be any sound here. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So there we go. So what we're going to cover this evening are what's known as the top 5 non-technical skills that employers are looking for. And we'll also go on to looking at both the skill set, as part of that, the skill set itself, and the mindset you need to actually demonstrate to people of these skills, both the skills as in the technical skills, and also the non-technical skills too. But before I start, I'm going to quickly check Facebook itself to see if there's any comments coming through itself. They should cancel HS2. No, yeah, everyone should work from home. Yeah, indeed. So I think, yeah, well, I'll just carry on with my presentation. That's brilliant. Thank you very so much for the comments coming through. So the top 5 technical skills that our employees are looking for. Well, first of all, okay, we'll move on. Is communication. So this is a really big one for me. And communication, well, just before I start, go back slightly. These 5 are all interlinked, and all these transferable skills tend to lap over. So, for instance, we'll talk about communication, and we'll go on to the second and third and so forth. And you'll see that there's actually an overlap. You can't just separate out communication skills from some of the other non-technical skills. So we'll talk about what is communication. Well, communication is it's a combination of, instead of the effective communication, it's a combination of listening, so listening skills, as well as verbal skills. So as I'm doing now, well, sometimes not very well, I do apologize, but so we've got listening skills, we've got verbal skills, communication skills, and of course the written communication skill too. Now, as an ecological consultant, we are consultants are advisors, so we need to advise our clients effectively and coherently, concisely, as much as we go throughout the course of our works. And that is from every single touch point with what we know as our clients. So a client may call on the telephone. You may phone up on the phone up and want to discuss a project with ourselves. So it's those listening skills, making sure we get the right information. We listen to what their needs are and are able to relay that either in a written format, in a form of a quotation. So, in the written skills here, or pass that on again to a colleague who may be able to prepare a quotation or actually discuss the project with the client themselves. So we need to pass on the information. So it's a combination of listening, interpretation skills are going to be there too. It's it's organization, so we know how effectively to transfer those skills across that communication across to a colleague, for instance, or prepare a quotation in a written format. Once that's completed, we will also then, at the end of everything, write up our report to the client themselves. So that's both, and a report is both a science and an art as well. So it's the art of communication. That's what we're looking at. So this is really does feature highly upon our list. Now, and whatever level of employment you are looking at, whether or not you are employed now, you're seeking employment, communication is going to be key as part of your success, either right at your first stage or advancement throughout your career as well. Now, for some roles, communication may be more in the written format rather than actually the verbal format. But there's no doubt that you will be liaising, communicating, discussing, solving problems. All these skills, all these traits will be required, and most of it comes down to communication skills. When we did a questionnaire just before Christmas in our team, and looking at ways to improve the company. And one of the three major topics that came out was clearly better communication. So communication features, it doesn't matter whether you've just started out or whether it's something that you have actually, you're in your 10th, 20th, 30th year of employment. Communication is going to be with you all that, throughout your career journey itself. So you need to be an effective communicator. Now, as you can see on the screen there, we have a picture of a microphone. So if public speaking, for instance, scares the life out of you, all right, it's understandable, to think that, a year ago, I never thought that I would be doing something like this, speaking on Facebook Live. I mean, in one way, there's no one else in this room. At least I don't think there is anyone else in this room. But I'm staring at a tiny little camera above my screen here and trying to engage an audience which I can't see through the delivery of a Facebook Live, okay, video conferencing. So who thought we'd be using Zoom, Skype, That's an old-fashioned term now. So, you know, I'm sure some people still use Skype, and it's still going around. But, you know, so video technology has increased. Our recruitment part of our process now has gone online as well. So we need to increase our communication skills and use technology, again, another technical skill, to our advantage. So you can see that, you know, the way we communicate has changed in the space of a year. There's no longer as those behavioral cues we can see as a recruiter, as an interviewer during an interview process, but now we have to look for different cues during our video conferencing interviews. So, and we'll come on to do a few techniques if we get time for that as well. So that's communication, all right? So, you know, communication is certainly key. And, you know, one of these things that, you know, if you're not a good communicator, it's the same with any other skill as well, that we need to learn how to effectively communicate. So it could be getting out of your comfort zone. This is when you get to the mindset part of it, that, you know, if you're not a great writer, communicator in that format, then perhaps you need to start putting down a few extra words. You know, if you're not great at verbally communicating, perhaps do something like this in the, you know, do it Facebook Live. It's yeah, it's really it is kind of challenging. And Nikki, I can see you there. Thank you very much. Yeah, used to hate public speaking, but found assemblies about recycling. Yeah, you get into it, don't you? I think it's one of those things that it's the same with any sort of skill, that we have a certain level of competency to start off with. And how do we get better? You know, so, you know, practice makes perfect, but don't think that you need to be perfect. Good is good enough in most instances, all right? And some of us can be perfectionists, I know that. I'm not a perfectionist, so, but I certainly, you know, I do enjoy sort of the challenge of actually getting on with a new skill. So that's communication. So we'll move on to the next one. So second one I'd like to introduce you to is time management. Yeah, so what I mean by time management here, I say it's sort of interlinks with other disciplines as well. So we all have the same amount of time, the same amount of resources there. So, you know, there's only 24 hours in a day. There's only so much we can get done in a day itself. So making effective use of your time is going to be critical in order for you to succeed in a task or your career as a whole. So my real big plea for you is to actually really do make the best use of your time. We've only got so many trips around this sun, and so let's make them as good as we can be, as they can be. So a few tips here about time management. You know, clearly it overlaps into organizational skills. All right, so being organized with your time and also being deliberate with your time. So it goes beyond just, you know, first of all, it should be taken as a read that you turn up on time. The beauty about these Facebook Lives and things like that is that when we say we're launching at 6 p.m, weirdly, we launch bang on 6 p.m, give or take a few seconds. So unless there's any technical difficulties. So the brilliant thing that actually technology has given us is that we are making a little bit more effective use of our time. The downside to that is that people jump from, okay, well, this finishes at 7 o'clock roundabouts. So we're going to jump from, you know, Facebook Live to Facebook Live or Zoom call to Zoom call. So being deliberate with your time. So make sure that you have enough time to either, you know, once we do start coming back into a sense of normality, you know, being present. So making sure that you have allocated enough time to complete your task. And the best way to do this, I find, is blocking out certain bits of my time. So I have a diary. I use Microsoft Outlook. Google Calendar will do. A physical calendar is absolutely fine, you know, as well. There's various apps on there, Monday.com, there's Trello and Asana and things like those are project management softwares, pieces of software. But if you're going to complete the task, really do focus upon that task itself. If you've got something to do, like if you want to complete your CV, right? So allocate just dedicated time, laser focused time to completing that task. Forget about everything else. Okay, we can get easily distracted. Social media is really easy to get us, get us distracted. Turn it off. And it's very easy to do. It really is. Don't think it is not. It is. It's really easy to do. You just switch it off. Put your phone on airplane mode. Switch off your emails. Switch off Netflix as well. Netflix is fine in small chunks, but when you've got a task to do, you need to set yourself. Just get on with it. And what I've done is putting it into my diary, blocking out a period of time in my diary really does help me. But when you're thinking about your career, just think about the time, what you've wasted, in terms of your, we've all wasted time. Let's try and get a bit of that back. And I think that's one of the most challenging parts. It is a skill to manage your time. When we talk about time management as well, we're looking about organization and prioritization, and it's formed in multitasking. Now, I don't know whether you believe in multitasking. Some people are better at multitasking than others. I certainly need to concentrate on a task at hand. I know that if I'm reading something and on the phone, and I've just come off the phone to someone, I was trying to read something, I do not perform either of those tasks brilliantly. All right. So if you try and write a letter and then take a phone call at the same time, the results of them are not going to be of either of those tasks are not going to be great. So you need to prioritize your tasks and organize them effectively. And I think that's putting it into a diary format is fantastic itself. So just think about the times where you could utilize that itself, how you could implement that within either your daily schedule or throughout your career as well. So for those, we're just starting in January, and I'm sure some people may have made New Year's resolutions. I used to. I don't do them anymore, but what I do participate in is habitat management, but also habit formation. So this is having small little tasks broken down into easy following tasks, and one leads on to the other. So for instance, I have a morning routine. So my morning routine is that I wake up at a certain time. So I wake up at 6:30 a.m. Although at the moment it's going to come back to 6, but because of Christmas, I am it's so hard to come back to, isn't it? So I started at 7, then went to 6:45, and now it's coming down to 6:30. And by next week we'll get to 6:15, and hopefully by February you'll be back up at 6. But so after I do that, so I wake up. The only thing I'm thinking about after I wake up is putting my feet on the floor. Once I put my feet on the floor, I know I can get on with my next task, which is having a glass of water. After I've had my glass of water, I know that my next trigger will then be a piece of meditation. After my piece of meditation, then it will be some sort of exercise. Now, these can last seconds. So drinking a glass of water, a few seconds. Meditation could last 3 minutes, or it could last, I haven't done this yet, in an hour. The longest I've gone for meditation is about 20 minutes. But so being deliberate with your time. And this is the great thing about habits, is that we can utilize time effectively, block it out. We know that we're going to get up at the same time through the routine. And a routine does not mean it restricts you. So So time management is a crucial non-technical skill, which I think you need to you should implement and look into it a little bit more. So it is that prioritization skills, organizational skills, and it's something we look for in our employees. So clearly, if we, as a project manager, we look to allocate certain amount of time to certain tasks. So we want you to hit that target. So you need to be productive and efficient, and so making a good use of your time, being deliberate with your time, very important. And that leads us quite neatly from time management into the third non-technical skill, which is project management. Now, most of us have managed a project of some sort, whether or not that be at school, whether it be at university, whether it be in your career. We've all managed some sort of project. And again, this overlaps with the time management one. It's about having excellence, organizational skills. So being an effective project manager is just being about highly organized, because we want to take a project from point A to point B, and maybe then to point C, D, and so forth. So we want someone who has those skills. You can see how difficult these are now to demonstrate on your CV and also as part of an interview. So we want to see how you go about prioritizing, using your time in order to take a request and take that problem, should we say, because it's a request because there's a problem and that someone wants solving, and you're going to resolve it. And so what you need to do in between those 2 points there is look at, clearly there's going to be a time issue there, but there's also a strategy from how you get from A to B itself. So how do you do that? I mean, yes, there's going to be certain elements. So it could be quite logical, for instance, that, before you do step 2, you need to do step 1. But for certain tasks, it could be that you need to complete around the houses sort of approach before you can actually move on, because there's different stakeholders involved. You need to communicate with them. Again, it's that communication skill before you can actually move on to the next task itself. So just looking about your strategy in between all those points themselves. And this is, and as I say, think of examples. So if you're applying for jobs, just think of an example where you utilize project management. All right. So, how you set about delivering a task for someone. So, resolving that fear. Someone's got a project, someone's got a problem, and how did you, how did you provide that solution? What was the strategy you got there? And also, how did you learn from any mistakes in that strategy? Because we all make mistakes. And again, this is part of the mindset we need to go involved. Some people fear making a mistake and therefore they don't try things. It's a stumbling block. Well, I think I haven't got it perfect. I'm not going to attempt it. And that prevents a lot of people from actually taking action. And we need more people to take action, deliberate action. So project management skills, I say ties into that communication. It ties into the time management one too. So that's the project management itself. And then problem solving. Okay, you're going along the way. You've got those strategies in place. Okay, so you can hit a stumbling block. You all, majority of throughout our life, on our day, every day, we probably encounter problems, whether or not be, well, which shirt do I put on, or which route do I take into work, or how I'm going to, what is local? How far away is local to me? Can I exercise more than once a day, and things like this? Always to solve problems. How am I going to get out? My car's blocked in, my car's broken down. The gas has stopped. The heating's come on. So we solve problems on a daily basis. So you can always think of an example as part of your CV and also at interview stage as well. So problem solving or critical thinking. So this is the way we analyze issues as well. So for instance, you may have, the amount of times I've sort of astounded myself by actually solving a problem. And just, first of all, it's that panic that sets in. So, you've got a problem, right, okay. Now, again, this mindset where your first reaction is going to be, why me? Why me? Why now? That's what we're all thinking. So then you go, okay, well, how am I going to resolve this issue? And then the old grey matter starts to kick in there. And it's about having to be, in one way, another non-technical skill, creativity. So how do we solve this problem? And children are great at solving problems, especially their imaginations are amazing. So, we can learn a lot from children in terms of freeing our minds up with imagination. So, looking at a problem, how do you go to solve it? We can do it in a logical way. We can solve a problem in a logical way, or there are actually ad hoc, or even, as I said, those creative ways. So actually not thinking in a straight line, for instance. It's thinking about, it's sort of like a workarounds. So is a workaround going to actually solve, resolve my issue? So we'll take a very quick example of just a car breaking down. So I went out on a survey quite a few years ago now, just over 10 years ago, and it was a dusk emergent survey, bat emergent survey. So I've just driven my car from just filled up with the fuel station, gone to the site, and as soon as I got to the site, I heard a psh, looked under the car, and just water absolutely everywhere. So, you know, in the middle of, you know, it was in the middle of sort of nowhere. So I had to resolve a problem, and the problem was, how am I going to get home that evening? First of all, the problem was, how am I going to do this bat survey? Luckily, we got right on site, and so we can undertake the survey. There was other people there, and so we discussed the problem. We solved the problem together. So it's communication, collaboration itself. So we talked about it, and the problem was that you know, I can't solve it this evening. What I'll do, I'd go stay at this other person's house. Next morning, I would phone up the AA to actually come have a look, and that's what we did. Didn't solve the problem of the car. The head gasket went and had to sell the car, and then moved on to another problem. So solving one problem, we actually release another problem, another issue which may need solving. And again, create that difficult critical thinking. So in the end, clearly, that resulted in me actually to purchase another car. Where am I going to get the money from to buy that car? How long is it going to take me? So all these problems that we encounter daily, you can think of a lot of these problems, how you solve them, and put that into your CV and into, during your interview, and also use it throughout your life. You know, there's quite a few different courses you can go on to about thinking creatively as well. So I know the comment was put in quite a few minutes ago, but yeah, Nikki, yeah, I totally agree with it. Yeah, it's why me, why now? Exactly. So it really is frustrating. So we'll move on to the next one in our list, and this is the final one. And in one way, this is what we all should aspire to be. We're not, you know, you think you're a leader or not. So leadership is not necessarily about management. You know, managers and leaders are sort of two different two ends, really. So a manager, you need managers. Managers get things done. You've got tasks to do. Okay, you need someone who can oversee it and ensure that that task is delivered to the specification that is required, you know, so that you set out to do. If someone's got a problem, okay, a manager will ensure that that problem is solved in a certain way. You know, they will manage the people, manage the task itself. A leader, as you can see on the screen there, it's a slightly different role within a company, or not just a company, but throughout your life. You have been leaders. Everyone has been a leader at some point in their life. Everyone's been a manager at some point in their life. So the difference between a leader and a manager is that a manager gets things done. A leader is someone who actually can inspire other people to get things done, who you'd want to follow, whether directly, as in you join their company, or feel inspired to take action based upon what they communicated or what they do. You know, you want to follow them in some way. You may put your own twist upon those elements as well. It's not as if you dogmatically follow them itself, but you're inspired to take action, similar action, or the same action that person. Yeah, so you're going to empower that. Leaders want to inspire other leaders. We want more leaders who can actually make sense of this world and ensure that we can result in restoring biodiversity loss, solving the climate change challenge we have as well, and other issues. Look at the Sustainable Development Goals by the UN. We need leaders who can lead on all of those aspects there. So we need people to make change, lead change, inspire people, and pass that on to other people. We need people to lead. We need leaders. And so think about the last time you showed up and demonstrated, actually, inspired someone. It could be so I know some people about public speaking. So it could be that you've helped someone today. You've helped them either across the road, or you've actually, if you're a responder under the Good Samaritan, for instance, that you help someone out with their prescriptions, or you've helped you've helped someone out in that day, and you've inspired them actually to go, actually, well, humanity is not so bad itself. So I think leadership is one of those most underrated, and everyone sort of fears, I don't want to be a leader, I just want to be part of the crowd. We do need people to step forward to actually take on these challenges and to to enable change, good positive change. And I think that's one of the reasons why that and have a purpose. I think that's one of the reasons why that Wildwood Ecology, we stand up for nature conservation, biodiversity loss. And then one of the things that I find abhorrent is actually the fact that I don't my personal opinion is that HS2 is damaging our environment and also resulting in both physical loss of wildlife in terms of species and habitat, but also it affects us all. So what do we gain from nature itself? And I think we just need people to step up and to inspire others. And HS2 is just my point, but there are other things going on in the world that we need to take action on against. We need either you stand for something or you stand against something. Okay, and I appreciate that sometimes it's never that. It's never just one or the other. There is a grey middle. Okay, so there we go. Those are the 5 I think that are the most important non-technical skills that you should focus upon. So communication itself. We're still live. Just making sure that we're So communication, time management, project management, problem solving, and leadership. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Sorry, I'm going to carry on. So I don't know if this is, it looks like we've stopped. So I don't know if that's, I'm just going to refresh my screen before I move on. Otherwise, I'm going to come back on and see if everyone's there. Just make sure we are itself. So I can see that, okay, we're still live. Sorry about that. I had a bit of a panic to think that the Facebook itself had stopped. Great. Okay, so we'll move on without me dibbering anymore. So all of that leads into what's known as your mindset. So whether or not you believe you can actually change, you can become a leader, or whether you can change people, inspire people, empower people, whether or not you think you're in control of your own time, you can manage a project, or you communicate effectively. This all comes down to having what's known as a growth mindset. Okay, so you can see on here, there's a difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. So I don't know if these, we're never 100% one, okay, but you can shift between the two. You can shift between what's known as a fixed mindset, and it usually happens when something happens straight away. We go into a panic mode, and this is where we get a fixed mindset. But it's how quickly you can adapt to become what's known as a growth mindset. So challenges, for instance, will transpire. They'll come up, and we can actually, we can actually move on from those and learn. And this is where we grow as a person, both to solve those problems. But we can actually just turn things around. And having a growth mindset is important within an individual. So it's something that some of the fixed mindsets believes that you are it's a bit like eye color, that your mindset, your intelligence is actually fixed. Whereas a person with a growth mindset perceives intelligence as a bit of a muscle, as in we can develop it. All right. So try and keep an open mindset, be open-minded, and have a growth mindset. So that's what I just want to say about that one. Wrapping things up, I just want to cover how do we implement that? How can we implement what we've learned now about those non-technical skills? How can we demonstrate those during our job search, or throughout our career as well? So we're going to look at how we introduce these within our CV, and also a little bit about an interview techniques as well. So we'll go on to what I like to see. So as an employer, when a CV comes into me, we've got about 7 seconds. On average, it takes about 7 seconds to actually view a CV. And I really do like looking at what's known as skill-based CVs, which, as you can see there, they put the key skills is above the employment history and education. All right. So this is just a little bit about, this is my preference. There are graduate CV templates. There's also, if you change your career, there's those sort of templates too. But what I like to see is a skills-based CV itself. So, the key skills, I say, is both looking at the technical skills, the back surveys and so forth, but also we're looking at just change the screen slightly then. So if you did see that, I'm just going to present that again. Sorry about that. That's me panicking. So I've got a little bit of fear myself there now. So a little bit of fear about how things are going. So communication, we've done all that stuff. Right, just clicking through, fixed mindset. Okay. So you look how you put it on the CV there. Then we're looking at the STAR approach. So this STAR, for instance, is the STAR approach is what's known as situation, task, approach, and result. All right. So if you get one of those questions at an interview stage which says, tell me a time when you were an effective manager or a leader, or you demonstrated time management skills, they may not put in those sort of terms, but those are the sort of things they're after. So you can use this technique, the STAR technique, and you can just Google it. It's quite obvious. So I'll just give you an example here about the STAR approach itself. So situation. So in this instance, I'll let you read it at all, but it should sound pretty obvious about how you implement it itself. So you look at the situation. So this person's working for a company, and they're tasked to do with data searches. The task itself then got a bit more complex because they're undertaking 32 searches. They go, well, panic sets in. How do I solve that problem? So we can see we're going to go problem solving, that critical thinking. And then we're going about time management. So approach, how did you do that? Well, we strictly examined it with prioritization, prioritized certain sites. And the result was that the data, we undertook the data searches, everything was fine, job was completed, client was happy, and the line manager was too. So that's just a little technique to use. I mean, don't be too rigid about this. Just have it in your back of the mind. And if you go into an interview, just run through some scenarios in your head. Think about, okay, will they ask me about the time, about your communication? Okay, well, think of a situation, a task, an approach, a result where you did that effectively. And you can run through those different skills as well. So if you've got, this is how you practice. This is how you get those good interview techniques, is having just a few little tips there, little tactics, how to actually complete those those scenarios. Okay, so I think that is the end of my presentation. So I'm going to stop that now. So I hope you found that of use. And I say, if there's any questions at all relating to the non-technical skills that employers are looking for, and also how you implement those within a CV itself or at an interview technique, do put them into the comment section and have a look at the comments coming through. So I'm going to take a slight little break now while, I'll still carry on talking for a bit. But if you want to put any sort of comments at all in, any questions at all, please do let me know. So I can see that we have, if I have to, so Jamie, thank you for your question. If I have to produce a cover letter, is it getting read if it goes over a single paper? Okay, so again, I can only say my opinion on this. So think about, let's take one step back. Okay, let's think about a CV. So what's the purpose of a CV? Well, the purpose of a CV is to get you to an interview. It's not to get you a job, it's to get you an interview. So you need to make sure that your CV is as good as possible. Now, you can either submit a CV as part of a job application, okay? And so normally your CV will accompany the job application form itself. Now, sometimes you may wish to submit your CV in an unsolicited way, and so how you do that is by providing a cover letter. Now, this cover letter is, think about a CV, and if you go back to that task-based CV I put there, first of all, it's the introduction, which is your name and your contact information. All right, so if you're looking at that, the next bit on that would be your personal statement. Now, within a cover letter, first of all, it's one of these things. A personal statement is not a cover letter, and a cover letter is not your personal statement. All right, so a personal statement should be around about 100 to 200 words, 150 words, about 4 or 5 lines, and it describes who you are, what you have to offer, and what you want as well. So who you are, you could be an ecologist graduate. What you have to offer, you've got all these amazing technical skills and non-technical skills. And what do you want? I want to be an ecologist working for your great company. Okay, so that's, so you're looking at who you are, what you have to offer, and also what you want. So you could put those in your personal statement. All right. That's not what you put in the cover letter. A cover letter, you can go into a little bit more detail, because I say you've only got 4 or 5 lines within a sort of personal statement. But within a cover letter, you can go into a little bit more detail. How much of that gets read by an employer is debatable. Okay, so I mean, it's clearly, if you're going to put in an unsolicited CV, you're going to need to provide an additional document, which is like, why are you submitting this CV to me? So, that's the purpose of your cover letter. It's very similar to a CV, be concise, tell them who you are, what you have to offer, and what you want. Okay, it's sort of a little bit, it's similar, but you go into a little bit more detail itself. Equally so, you can put that in a letter PDF, or you can put it into an email body itself. But do they get, I mean, yeah, it's an accompaniment. Okay, so certainly put your details in there as well, but it's not going, I mean, a cover letter is important, but it's not as important as your CV itself or the job application form. So hopefully that will help you. Let's look. Maxine, on top of having the essential skills, experience, reviewed CV. Yeah, reviewed. That's fantastic. I'm glad you mentioned reviewed, because a CV, all right, one thing you should really do with a CV application form is read it again, read it out loud, give it to a friend, give it to a family member, give it to your dog. No, perhaps don't give it to your dog, because there's nothing worse than saying, oh, my dog ate it. No, send it to someone you trust, will give you honest feedback about it. So make sure, you do read it and review your CV. And using the STAR technique, I'm just carrying on, Maxine, in his views. I've read the latest expectation from many consultancy employers now to beat the competition is having the SIEM accredited courses on your CV, but these cost hundreds of pounds. Yeah. As an employer yourself, is there something that might grab your interest instead of these? Well, first, what's most important, what's going to grab my attention is your skills. So if you've made them obvious, it doesn't matter where you got them from. So whether you got them from SIEM, whether you got them from the Ecology Training Academy. So I didn't plug that at all. But the Ecology Training Academy, if you search for us, we provide certain courses as well, and that will help you. So we do the Back Roost Fundamentals course, the Premier Ecological Appraisal Fundamentals, report writing, wildlife, legislation course. We've got bundle deals, and we also have courses on how to become a consultant ecologist. This is a quick guide there. But yeah, so it doesn't matter where you get these courses from. I want to see the skills. I'm not interested in it's a SIEM course. I'm not really interested in it's an Ecology Training Academy course. What I'm interested in is that you have the skills and you're competent at the level that I am looking for. Now, if I'm looking for an assistant ecologist, the competency level, excuse me, is going to be lower than it is than I'm searching for a senior ecologist, for instance. So yeah, I don't hold the fact that you need to have SIEM accredited courses. So I don't know where that's come from. But yeah, if you're referencing SIEM, it says it's obviously it's an authoritative sort of a recognition. But as an employer, I'm more interested in, have you got those skills? Have you shown me you can demonstrate that you've got them, and at what competency level? So that's more important to me, your effective communication of those skills. So I hope that's helped there. When applying against many other people with the same technical skills, how do I stand out? That's a very good question. So, you can see that there's a lot of vanilla out there. And there's a lot of people with the same skills. We're seeing people with degrees, even master's degrees. Sometimes it's PhDs you're dealing with. Again, make your CV stand out for the right reasons. And if I say we cover this on the Complete Guide to Becoming a Consultant Ecologist, we've got this great course on how to, and I'll put parts of it on elsewhere. So if you come onto our own Facebook page, we'll get part of that. But what you need in terms of your CV is to really make it specific for the job you're applying for. So how do you think about these? So the reason why we put job descriptions out is because we want you to have those essential skills and desirable skills and demonstrate them on your CV that you have them. So how do you make your CV stand out is by mirroring the job description. And I say a task-based CV is the best way to do it. You've got tasks right up there, right at the top there. I can see them. That's where I'm after. If you've got a degree, if you're working for a research company or research post, maybe you wanted to put your education, your academic qualifications a bit further up. But ecological consultancy is more about a skills-based profession, particularly if you're going to be a surveyor. So I want to see those skills higher up on that list itself. And I want you to demonstrate your skills. So that's how you stand out, not just list bullet points, which we see. Everyone has a passion. Don't use cliches as well within your application. So if you're saying something like, I'm a great team player, what does that mean? I have no idea what a great team player means. If it means you're an effective communicator, you've got great listening skills, and you can demonstrate that using that STAR method, for instance, within your CV and at the interview stage, that's what I'm after. So that's how you can stand out. And it's I hope that's helped. Right? And I think I'm going to take this couple of last more ones, and we're going to end. Okay, so I'm going to finish. We've got Debbie's, and then and one more, and then we're going to end. So I'm an ecology lecturer and teach an ecological consultancy module. Okay, many have asked, I do too, at the Cirencester Agricultural University. So let's have a look. Many of our students suffer from a lack of self-confidence, and that's very true. Do you have any advice I can pass on from my professional in the field? I was in conservation ecology for 20 years myself. So yeah, confidence itself. Confidence is one of those things that, we all have our own our limiting beliefs, our own limiting beliefs. And I think the most important one way I would say is that, say a year ago, we wouldn't have done this Facebook Live. There's quite a few things I've done in my career that I didn't think I would do. And in one way, it's social media doesn't help. So, we're all comparing ourselves against each other. Everyone seems to be having a great time. Everyone seems to be better than ourselves. That is not true. Okay. Perfection is in the eye of the beholder. All right. I don't see perfection in anything. I'm not a perfectionist. I don't think perfection, perfection is something you may strive for. But you shouldn't be afraid to actually acknowledge the fact that good is good enough. If you go into business, if you go into any career, you'll realize that action is more important than anything else. Doing something, taking action, implementing it, and critics be damned. I think, and how you build that up, and it's very easy for me to say, that. But in terms of actually how you get your students to commit, to have that self-belief, is through small steps, small little habits that progressively multiply. Okay, so a great book, Debbie, to get, and I find this book absolutely amazing. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And if you have a look at that book, it just gives you small little steps about changing your environment. So the 4 things about habit formation: you need to make them easy, you need to make them attractive, you need to make them rewarding, and a sense of achievement at the end of it. Okay. So, and conversely, if you want to get rid of bad habits, you make them hard, you make them unattractive, you make them difficult to actually get to, unattractive. So, but you build up slowly. So if you, rather than saying, I want to be an ecologist, you say, I want to, you find your purpose, your reason why. You say, well, actually, I do want to make a difference to the world because I want to restore biodiversity loss. So if you want to do that, any step you take towards that is you becoming an ecologist. Okay. So for instance, it could be that you are the sort of person, it goes inside your head, your personality. You are the sort of person who helps wildlife, who goes on nature walks, who participates in volunteer activities for surveys, who actually is a member of a wildlife trust. All these actions compound, but you start small, start really, really small. And as I said about my habits for my morning routine, I don't think about the reason why I do morning routine is so I have more time to focus upon a certain project or a task. But I'm not thinking of that when I get out of bed. What I'm thinking about is I need to put my feet on the floor. Right, now I need to have a glass of water. Right, now I need to meditate. Okay, now I need to exercise. But I don't think about what's the end result. The result, I can't control my end result. All I can control about is my action now. So you are in control of the present. So just have small baby steps. I hope that's helped. A little bit waffling there. I do apologize about that. Great. I think we are almost out of time. I think we're going to, let's look, yeah, self-confidence. It's really, really difficult to get over. These self-limiting beliefs. It really is. But James Clear, Atomic Habits. Have a read of that. That's really, really, really. That's helped me a lot. You are what people say. You are who you surround yourself with. Those 7 people, those 5 or 7 people you surround yourself with. So if you're with surround yourself, it's your environment. Again, the James Clear Atomic Habits, it's your environment. So if you're in an environment where everyone's negative, you're going to be in a negative mood as well. So try to get out into a different environment. Go into an environment where there are more positive people. And that's quite hard to do when you think, oh, well, they're just too upbeat and they're not really my type. Get out your comfort zone. And this is it. You'll take your tiny step. Go in and either read something you've never read before by someone who's different to you. Go to an event that's a little bit different to you. Attend a Zoom meeting that's different that you normally go to, and just look at it from another person's point of view, and then build upon that. But yeah, certainly your environment is the most important thing. If you're surrounding yourself by negative people, you're going to be probably a negative person yourself. So try to shift your environment to the place where you really do want to be. That's it. I'm afraid I'm going to have to go, but I hope you found that of use. I've enjoyed this evening, and I hope you have done too. So I say I'm Richard Dodd from Wildwood Ecology. We run the Ecology Training Academy, and I say there are a few courses out at the moment. Any advice you need at all, please do let me know. You can join us on the Ecology Training Academy website, Facebook page, sorry. Other than that, I wish you a very good evening for the rest of your evening. Good luck with your ecological careers, conservation careers, and thank you once more for CJS for allowing me to be a guest host on this evening. So all take care. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks now. Bye.